Welcome back to Success with Connections. And today I have a phenomenal guest with us. I have Pegine, and Pegine is an incredible, extraordinary entrepreneur. She's a speaker, she's a coach, she's an author. She does so many different things. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about what she does. I have followed her career for over 20 years. So I'm not dating myself, but hey, it's been at least 20 years. And she has spoken to on the stage to thousands of people all over the world. It's not just here in the United States. She's spoken all over the world. I know recently went to Ireland, and she's won so many awards. I can't even name them all, but I believe her website is Team Pegine or Pegine.com. We'll get that in a minute. We'll make sure that you have ways to connect with Pegine. She has spoken to Fortune 500 companies. She's spoken to the military in front of generals and presidents, and she's an incredible human being. And I just can't wait for you to connect with Pegine and get to know her and to know her story, because she didn't start off all this wonderful stuff. She has very humble beginnings, and I'm sure there were a lot of people who helped her connect and go along the path to get where she is today. So, Begin, welcome to my podcast, Success Through Connections.
I am so happy to be here with you. We've known each other a long time, and it's just, you know, I love the title of your podcast, Success Through Connections, because truly you can't get anywhere without connections. You can't, and if there's one thing that I've learned through my life, kind of stumbled, pushed, uh resisted, was that you need connections. You can't do business, you can't do life, you can't do relationships without connections. It just doesn't happen. And you other hermits, people who are hiding underneath a shell, usually are that's their whole life, hiding under a shell. And the people that I love to be around, the people that your listeners want to hear, is time to remove the shell. It's time for us to get out and connect. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I love when you mentioned that, a little off topic, that they're under a shell. I feel that way about the younger generations. They're living in a shell behind all their devices, and I worry about them. I'm concerned that when they get older, they're not going to really know how to connect in person and build those relationships. I know you can connect digitally, and I do, but there's nothing like the human touch and really getting to know somebody.
Yeah, when I think about where we're at, and I think that part is that people just don't know some of the skill sets. We haven't shown some of the skills, because even with us virtually, even with this experience, you can still get out of your shell, and you could still get out and um, leverage who you are so that people want to be around you. I meet thousands of people virtually. I don't meet them in person. I talk to them virtually. I'm always surprised when we finally meet. It's like, oh my gosh, you've got legs. Um, but we have strong relationships and strong friendships. And I think that it's so. I'm writing as I'm talking to you. I put down shell. What does that shell mean? And so to be success through connection, shell, S stands for seen, be seen,
Mhm.
right? So the thing is, if you're not on social media, if you're not um, having meetings on your Zoom or Teams, if you're not uh, being vocal, if you're not looking at people's eyes and connecting, then you're not being seen, and you have to be seen,
Yes.
right? H stands for heard. You have to be heard. What's your opinion? What's your thoughts? And have you thought about those thoughts? Because too often people speak and don't think about what they're saying, and haven't prepared their minds to be in a positive, uplifting framework, that they don't realize what they're saying impacts and influences how you're being perceived. So we want you to be heard, but we want you to be heard in your highest best. E stands for engaged. Let me tell you something. If I didn't show my video, like if I decide to go stop video right now, it would be very hard for you to engage with me because I've right away closed the door. And that is something that we have to recognize when we're on these virtual programs, when we are in this connection. Open the door, show yourself, look at the camera, smile, because actually people feel your energy through this. This is,
That's true.
we'll talk more about this. And then L is to laugh. Laughing is amazing. So let's say somebody said something and we're on this podcast or we're on a presentation and then somebody says something and they are laughing. How hard is it for you to laugh with them? They made a joke. Maybe the joke was awful, but the person said, I said the joke, laughing with them. You can do that. But wow, the power you just emanated and gave to the person who just said the joke, you changed the whole environment by laughing. And then I say the last part of L of the shell is love. We must love ourselves and love people. And so love is about showing up. So that's my shell mode. You just
Well,
asked
that
me about
I find that very interesting, and I'm thinking, we've known each other a long time, and we've grown. I remember when you were speaking many years ago. I don't know if it was when you first started, but it was probably pretty close to then, over 20, 30 years ago. And it was a whole different topic that you spoke about than you'd speak about now. I mean, because we grow. So how did you get into the speaking industry? Tell us a little bit about your backstory.
So the fastest version of how did I get into speaking? I lived in New York. I ran a very large uh, women and girls center, and I did things as I always do things uniquely. The mayor of New York was informed about my program, and we had won awards um, and one day, Montel Williams, the talk show, back then, Montel Williams had this huge talk show. Like, there's Oprah, Montel Williams, and there were a couple of others, right? So Montel Williams called the mayor's office saying, we're looking for someone to come on the show that would have tough girls who had changed their lives. And the deputy mayor had said, well, you got to know Pegine. She runs this program. So Montel Williams heard that the producers called my program and they said, we want 3 girls to come on the TV show and to talk about how they changed their lives. Now, at my center, I had a lot of fun. I used to have a make-believe TV show. We built a make-believe studio so that my girls who had been in gangs and really rough lives, I mean, like having kids at 14 years old and just rough and tumble lives. So they had changed their lives. So I said, one day somebody's going to call and want to know your story. Let's prepare. So I would have these 1-hour practice TV shows, right? So, and it was perfect because here's Montel calling, and the staff already
You
knew what would happen.
manifested it.
I did manifest it. I told the staff, if this TV show ever calls, this is who you ask. I had prepped the girls. If somebody ever calls, this is what you say. Not that I had ever been on a TV show or ever knew about what that would happen. It was all imagination, and we were all playing. And so now Montel Williams comes, they talk. And what the girls told the producers was, they said, well, what made you change your life? And they said, oh, you don't know Pegine. When you're around her, you have to change your life. It's just she exudes this life that you can live. So then the producers went to Montel and said, they keep on talking about this woman Pegine. And he said, well, bring her on the show. So I went on the show and I ended up being Montel's favorite guest experts. So I was on his show 32 times, and we became good friends. And he pulled me aside one day, and Montel was a former Navy SEAL. He graduated from the Navy Academy. So he had this booming voice. And he said, he took me in the room and his face close to me. And he said, "What are you doing? You have to be out there speaking. People got to hear what you have to say. Nobody talks like you." And like he's in front of me, I said, "I don't know what you're talking about. What is speaking?" And so he educated me to know that speaking was his profession where you go in and speak. Now, I years earlier, I had been in corporate America. I had hired speakers, but it never dawned on me that there was a profession where people would be paid to speak until that moment with Montel. So that's literally how I started. He opened doors for me. Um, he he got me a book deal. He got me into some bureaus, and that's how I started.
With Montel Williams, the famous
Yeah,
Montel.
yeah. If
How
anybody,
cool is that?
yeah, it's
Pretty
very
cool.
cool,
That's pretty cool.
life changing.
Life changing. So you talk about changing. So why is change good for success? Why does it matter?
Wow, I love that question about why change is good for success, because here's the bottom line: is you're changing anyway. No matter what age you are, whether you're 20, you're not 12. So your transformation and your change between 12 and 20 is something. Change between 12 and 30 is something. Change between 30 and 40 is something. And certainly when you go to 50 and 60 and 70 and 80 and that change, you're always changing. You notice things about your body. Now here's the thing about change, which is so exciting. Change, depending on how you choose to look at it, can be an immensely powerful, positive experience or not, depending how you perceive it. Since change is always happening, wouldn't it be wonderful if you took charge of that change? So that means when you're 20 or 25 or 30, what does taking charge of change means? Well, it means you're going to decide just by writing, what do you want? What do you want? So do you want to run a business? Do you want to be famous? Do you want to be a mom or a dad? Do you want to be financially secure? Do you want to earn $200,000? Do you want to earn $1 million? What do you want? And that starts the first part of change. Like, what do you want? Because change is going to happen anyway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That what people don't realize, when you make change a choice, since it's happening anyway, what's the change you want? So my first change was when I was 17 and I was sitting on a corner and I was in a girls' gang and I had a bandana on my hat and my head and I had chains on my jacket and my friends were Lefty and Peanuts and those were the girls. And I smoked cigarettes all the time and I always looked like this. But there was a moment in that, standing in front of Jack's Candy Store, which was the bodega, there was a moment that I thought, wow, is this what I want for my life?
Mm.
That thought, as I was standing there, everybody else, we all look the same. I look scary. But that one thought is, boy, is this my life? Is this what my life is about? And then the next question was, well, what do I want? Now, I didn't know what I wanted, but there was an impression, a vision of me talking on a box, like like a TV, like a Zoom, like it was definitely me. I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know what I was saying, but I was definitely
Talking.
doing like what I'm doing right now. I was definitely sharing and talking. Had no idea what that meant. All I knew was get out of the gang now. And so I said goodbye to everybody. I sauntered cool, like, until I got to home. And then I ran to the basement and I had a decision that I need to get out of the gang. And I actually thought that I had to leave the country to leave the gang. Never dawned on me I could have gone to Florida. And I put 5 countries in the hat because I was too afraid to pick the country. So I put 5 countries, and Spain came out, pulled out, and I went to my mom and I said, I'm going to leave the country. I'm going to live in Spain. And
What'd she say?
we had a lot of discussions. Let's just put it this way. The next thing you knew, I was on a plane to Spain.
Wow.
And I
And
went by
how old were
myself.
you?
I was 17 and a half.
Okay.
And I was 17 and a half, so I went to go live in Madrid. And through a series of like, oh my gosh, I need money, I ended up, there are a lot of stories in between this, but I ended up opening 3 businesses. And by 23, I sold them as a profit and returned to the States. And that's how I got out of the gang. But it was that question of change is happening. What do I want?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really, choosing what you want is such a powerful step, because when you say, what do I want, rather than focusing on all the crap that's coming your way, that's success and that's power, because then it gives you a path.
Yes. Mhm.
You
Absolutely.
know, you and I know that we've talked about that. What do we want? What do we want? That's why we keep on showing up and
And
succeeding.
sometimes you just have to have the desire for something different. You don't know what you want. You don't know how you're going to get there. I always go back to one of my favorite books, which is the Think and Grow Rich. It's like, you don't have to know the how. You just have to have the desire and have the faith. It's like you got on the plane, you went to Spain. You didn't know what you were going to do when you got there, but you had 3 successful businesses and you were able to sell them and come back and start fresh and be powerful, be bold, be you.
Absolutely. One of the things that you just said, which I think is important, is you have to have the desire to want something. You really don't have to know the how.
Mhm.
It's, as a matter of fact, if you get stuck in the how, that thwarts your success.
Absolutely. I agree.
It's really constantly saying, so what do I want? And then the other piece that I learned was, how do I feel about what I want? So, because it's those emotions, those feelings, those, I can desire this, but how does it feel? How does it feel for me to be on stage and talking to people, that get that high? How does it feel when I know that people read a book? That high. How do I feel when money flows to me? That high. I need, if I don't focus on that part, that high, the what I want, that excitement, um, it thwarts your success. You have to focus on that. And then, I don't know, things just start happening.
Isn't that
Well, I can say I don't know, but I do know, because I've studied Think and Grow Rich, and I've studied a lot about prosperity, and studied a lot about the power of thought. So it's that power of feeling the enthusiasm and the high of what you want that makes results happen.
Mhm. It's like I've always found this. Like I'm a new study for the Think and Grow Rich, so it's still new to me. But I love how I don't know how to do a lot of things, and the technology always trips me up. But that's where my connections come in from, where I've met people. It's like I express where I have a problem, and those connections say, "Well, I know how to fix that," or "I know somebody who can do that for you." So I don't want to get stuck in the minutia, in the weeds of how to do it. It's like if I can pass it on and delegate it to someone else, so be it. I'm happy to do that. So it's
Absolutely. I have to share something that my friend Sandy taught me, which has been fabulous. So a lot of the times we grew up and we've been around people who will say, the itty bitty committee, right? Itty bitty, it starts with an H, SH. And so people have grown up with that. And what she taught me, which I think is really fabulous, she says, no, no, this is my magnificent committee. This is a committee that knows how to get things done. This is, so when I'm in this process of I want, and I need a solution to something, I go, all right, committee, my goddesses, you handle it. You figure it out. When the right time is, then you let me know when we've got the solution. So she now sees this committee as her success committee, and as her solution committee, and she empowers them to provide for her. So rather than that itty bitty committee, it's this success committee, this solutions committee. I think it's great.
I think that's a great way of thinking about it. It's like, I got the success, I've got the committee in my head here. Like,
Right.
let's farm it out.
Farm, exactly. Farm it out.
Farm it
I
out.
love that. I'm writing that down.
Farm it out. It's like, 'cause that's what I'm very good at, is farming things out. It's like, I don't know, and that's what always gets me tripped up, and that's when I have to pull in my committee.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Absolutely.
So
It's a
how do
good
you,
thing.
Pegine, I got two questions for you before we run out of time. One is, so how do you make sure that you're not wobbling when you have to be confident? You know, you're out there speaking in front of people. You could get tripped up on a question they ask you, or just life in general. How do you stay confident?
So it's a gift of having lived. So everybody, no matter what age you are, you've lived through stuff, every single one. So confidence is based on experience, and but it's based on your experience of how you've thrived and survived. We all go through crap, all of us, but it's how we got through the crap, how we've come to the other side. That's our power. That's our confidence. So it's, I got this. I got this. I got this. When you feel wobbly, so it's, I got this. The second, which has been a awesome thing for me, is I'm rebellious. So, I had an incident a few months ago where somebody questioned my brand. Like, I don't get your brand. I don't get what it's about. I don't get who you serve. And I can feel the wobble. I can feel the wobble coming. And the wobble was from, wow, have I not said what I'm about? Is there some confusion out there at the market? Well, and I was discounting all of my successes. I was discounting, like, the people that buy me know what I'm about. Hello. So in that wobble moment, I became the rebel.
Mm.
And I turned to that person. I said, well, of course you don't know what I'm about. You're not my market. You would never go and look at my site. You'd never give me a deal. You'd never open a door for me. Of course not. It's not, you don't know. If you had gone to my website, if you've seen me, you know.
You are.
But I don't need to tell you what my brand is. It always reminds me of, and that moment, it reminded me of, there's a movie called Selena with Jennifer Lopez.
Mhm.
And there's a part in that movie where she's going into a store. She's been nominated for a major Grammy. So she goes into a store to buy a gown. And when she walks in the store, and it's one of these she elegant stores, right? And she comes in as a teenager. She is a teenager in her jeans and stuff. And she's looking at these items. And the salesperson said to her, excuse me, please don't touch that. You really don't, you, you can't afford it. And you really,
Sounds
this
like the
thing,
scene from Pretty Woman.
right? But what happened in that was the Hispanic seamstress walked out and saw him, and she ran into all the Hispanic, back to the dressmakers that were behind the scenes, right? Making, Selena is here, Selena's aquí, Selena's here, which spread through the mall and all the workers. Selena's here. So suddenly now Selena's buying this dress. Looks like a typical Hispanic teenage girl that this store doesn't want in her store. And suddenly she's inundated with all these thousands of fans. And what was really interesting, and for me talking with this guy, was, you don't know my market, just like nobody knew Selena's market. That woman would never have been listening to Selena's music or hearing her music. And the truth of the matter is, you get to be rebellious and own you. You get to decide who you are. Nobody else gets to decide with that. So when I'm wobbling, if I find a wobble, I have to remember, I got this. I'm Pegine. That's who I am. I know myself. And so the lesson about it is you must fall in love with you. I tell everybody, write a love letter to yourself on a daily basis. Send yourself flowers that say, I love you so much.
So true.
Because nobody can love you the way you love you. And
That
if you think that is true, that if you think that somebody can love you and make you feel loved, no, it's got to be you loving you, and then people express their love to you. And then you know it. But you know it first because you love yourself. And that stops the wobble.
So I have a crazy question. I'm going to put you on the spot here. So you mentioned the Montel, how you had these children who you schooled them and what have you. Um, do you ever hear from any of them?
Oh yeah, all the time. Uh, of the girls, so we follow each other on Facebook, and so one became a publisher of a major medical society journal. Another one became a lawyer. Another one is a college professor. Yeah, and their kids are, it's so crazy because they were all teen moms.
Yes.
So, it's crazy. Like Julie just called me the other day, and she's um her kids are doing great. Her kids are becoming lawyers and doctors. It's just amazing. And and she's a grandmother because her kids, they didn't have children until they were 30, but she was like their sister. It's just wild. It's just wild to see them, and they're doing fantastic. They
That's so
they they
awesome.
are doing really great, and we have so we'll have love fests.
Hey, well,
Yeah.
didn't want to put you on the spot, but I just had to know. It was just burning in my head. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's been
they're fantastic, and
awesome.
I've kept in touch with a lot of my staff from that time.
Oh,
Um, yeah, they everybody's, succeeding, which is beyond their wildest imagination.
this is
So it's good.
this is awesome. We are out of time, but man, I could go for. We'll have to. I'll have to invite you back. Will you come back again?
Yes, I will. Absolutely.
Awesome. So I tell if you are wanting to connect with Pegine, she is wonderful. She's passionate about what she speaks about, and you can see that just by listening to her. If you would like to connect with Pegine, tell us how people can connect with you and find you.
Actually, the best way to do that is to go to
Mhm.
teampegine.com/connect with Pegine. So it's teampegine.com/capital C connect, capital W with capital P, Pegine, Pegine. And that's the best way to reach me. It'll have everything. I have free books for you, free courses. If you want to be a professional speaker, I'll have information there. If you want to hear me speak, you want to go there. So just go to teampegine.com/connect with Pegine. And that's the best way to reach me.
That is awesome. What a fantastic conversation that we have had today. Very little bit different here, which is awesome. So, as we part ways today, keep in mind that great connections lead to great opportunities. And so, if you're in need of a stellar realtor anywhere in the United States from coast to coast, I can get you connected to the top tier realtors all over the country because my network is vast, my standards are high, and satisfaction is guaranteed. So until the next episode of Success Through Connections, keep connecting. Till next time, I'm Zelda.